I did the math, and urban homesteading makes no financial sense. So why am I still doing it? Let me explain. When I started calculating the value of my time as an entrepreneur, I nearly gave up urban homesteading. But one thing changed my mind. If you're considering urban homesteading and trying to run the math and do calculations as to whether it's worth it, keep watching, because I'm going to share with you my reasoning, especially as an entrepreneur, why I decided that it is actually worth it to do it. Urban homesteading might be one of the most inefficient things I do, yet it's one of the things I'll never give up. Canning a round of green beans takes me almost 3 hours, and that saves me about $7 at the store. So if I can buy the same thing for $7, why would I do this? It turns out that the value of preserving food in urban homesteading has nothing to do with money. I first got into canning our food last summer after thinking about it and being freaked out about it for a few years. I was able to finally conquer my fear and get some stuff canned for the first time. And I recognized that it was taking me a lot more time than I thought. And I started to question whether it was worth it. And part of my dilemma was that as an entrepreneur, the value of my time is something that I have to keep forefront. Like, it's significant. And so if I'm spending almost 3 hours to generate $7 worth of green beans, that just doesn't make a lot of sense financially to home can these vegetables when my time could be better spent doing client work, doing consulting for my marketing company, that sort of thing. I was actually pretty close to quitting because I was questioning whether the time trade-off was worth it. And what I realized is that the intangibles, the value that I got, was greater than this time value conflict. Here's what it boiled down to for me. For one thing, I was comforted by the fact that when we eat home canned food, we know exactly what's in it. My husband tends to the garden. We know that it's 100% organic, no pesticides used ever, and we know that it has been lovingly cared for from seed to kitchen without any tampering. And we also know that we have quality soil. At first, we were buying all of our soil from the local garden store, and then we started a compost pile, and we were able to use a good portion of our compost for this year's garden. And so we know, and we control the quality of the compost, and so we know that the soil that our garden is being grown in is nutrient rich, doesn't contain any pesticides, and that alone is a pretty big boon to value. That was huge for me. Another reason that contributed to me wanting to continue was the resilience and the self-sufficiency, right? Being less dependent on the system. The year 2020 taught us that you can't always assume that everything you want is going to be available in the grocery store when you go. And so increasing our self-sufficiency by growing some of our own food, a lot of our own food really, right here in our own yard, that was extremely reassuring to me. And another big reason that I had to take into account was that there's so much joy in eating what you grew, right? The summertime is the prime growing season, and we consume a lot of it fresh in the summertime, and then we preserve what we can eat fresh. And there's so much pride and joy in having a meal that's made from food that you have grown, whether it's fresh or preserved, putting that in front of your family and knowing that you made this food. And honestly, a big part of my journey as a middle-aged adventurer is leaning into health and healthy living, healthy eating, functional medicine, being fit after 40, and growing our own food and knowing that we have the highest quality food is a big part of being healthy and eating healthfully to take great care of your temple, if you will. And between that and supporting our local farmer friends for the meat that we eat, it's satisfying to know that your meat, your fruits, and your vegetables were all grown locally through processes that you can trust, through people that you trust, which hopefully you trust yourself, right? The connection to nature and getting more effective systems for preserving our food has increased our self-sufficiency greatly, and that means so much. And so when I factor all those things in, the value of my time is inconsequential. Ultimately, I had to realize that's not why I'm urban homesteading. I'm not urban homesteading and preserving food to save money. If I was doing it to save money, it would not be worth it. So when I had to face that big decision, those are the things I considered, and that is why I realized that urban homesteading is something that I will never give up. Even though it's not efficient, the return on investment isn't great, but in the intangibles, it really is. You'll find a lot of urban homesteading channels that will run through the math of what they spend on such and such supplies, seeds, etc., and how much they save versus going to the store. And that's great. If you want to run the math and do it that way to figure out how much you saved, I guess it could be a savings over store-bought stuff. But a lot of those videos don't factor in the time you spend. And that was really my biggest rub. The dividends you get cannot be measured in a dollar amount. So if you're considering urban homesteading, or you're considering preserving food and you're wondering about the time requirements, think about these things and what you might get from it. And I hope this is helpful. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts and your questions. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.